We're taught that finance is restrictive, boring, and basically the opposite of everything fun. And I used to believe that too. Money actually broke up my parents. It wasn't the only thing they fought about, but it was a huge part of it. My dad is a Malaysian Chinese immigrant, and he treated saving money like it was an Olympic sport. His showers aren't really showers. He turned on the water ever so slightly, you'd think that there was a plumbing issue. And he's been hoarding the free McDonald's napkins since I was a child. My mum, on the other hand, is Australian with Irish-Scottish roots, and she saw money completely differently. She believed that money was meant to be enjoyed. She'd crank up the heating during winter without a second thought. And she also made really long phone calls with their family. And side note, back in the early 2000s, phone calls were priced per minute, so they were really expensive. But by growing up between these two extremes, I didn't know which one to believe. But I knew that I wanted financial freedom. I didn't want to live so frugally that I missed out on life's joys, but at the same time, I didn't want to spend so recklessly that I jeopardized my financial future. Fast forward to today, and I've realized that money doesn't have to be hard, boring, or stressful. And it's so much easier when you have a system. So in this video, I'm sharing 5 life-changing lessons from my book, The Fun Finance Formula, which helped me go from broke and feeling lost about money to building a 7-figure net worth in my 20s without giving up the things that I love. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Queenie, and I'm a licensed personal finance creator. I'm a mom, and now I'm an author. And my mission is to help your money go further. Just a quick heads up that the information in this video is general advice only and not personal financial advice. So grab a drink of your choice, coffee or tea. I'm drinking a hibiscus tea, and let's get into it. The first lesson is that money can be fun, and it's kind of like a game. As a kid, I used to think that my dad was kind of sad with money because he didn't enjoy spending money like other people did. He reused things until they broke, and even his old clothes he would often reuse around the house as rags. He aggressively shopped for discounts and would often go to 3 different supermarkets to compare prices, and he knew exactly where every single dollar of his money was going. But one night I had this light bulb moment, and it honestly completely changed my mind forever. I had my dad over for dinner, and I realized the way that we bond is actually over talking about money. We find happiness in saving money, finding a clever bargain, and spending wisely and intentionally on things that matter. And as a kid, I would often try to impress my dad by telling him how I found this really amazing bargain, or how I managed to buy something on sale and got it discounted even further. And although he didn't like spending money, he would sometimes actually give me a bit of approval and say, well done, that was a really good deal. So this realization actually changed everything for me, and it was the whole inspiration for writing this book. But in this book, I break down the idea that not all money is created equal, and there are different types of money. So let me explain. There's fun money, and there's also heavy money, but then there's also lucky money, and there's money that's in your control. This creates 4 different money types. First, there's fun and lucky money, and these are things like winning the lottery, getting a surprise bonus, or finding money on the street. Then there's fun and skilled money, and this is honestly the sweet spot. So things like getting a great deal and earning money from a job that you love. Then there's heavy and lucky money, and these are things like inheritance or getting laid off with a severance package. And finally, there's heavy and skilled money, and those are things like working at a job you hate, paying for fines, or doing something unethical in order to make some money. So in this book, the fun and skilled money quadrant, that's where the fun finance formula lies. It's money that's within your control, and it feels good to earn this kind of money. It's the kind of money that makes you want to keep going, and that's exactly the type of money that we should be chasing. Instead of, for example, the fun and lucky money, which can be really fun to earn, for example, finding some money on the street or winning the lottery, but it's really unpredictable and it's really difficult to control this type of money. Whereas when you put your effort into earning fun and skills money, it's really easy to control this type of money, and while some luck can be involved, definitely not as much luck as the fun and lucky money quadrant. So the key takeaway is that fun and skilled money feels deeply fulfilling because it's tied to your abilities and efforts, and over time it becomes easier to scale and replicate as you build skills and confidence. And let's contrast this to the fun and lucky money, which often I find is the kind of money that a lot of people try to chase, which is, while lucky money feels great, it's not something you can rely on consistently. Treat it as a bonus and use it to support your financial goals or create joyful experiences. So that's the first lesson, that we should try to be chasing the fun and skilled money. The next lesson is don't overcomplicate investing. Let me tell you about a mistake that Pablo and I made when we first started investing. We started investing 8 years ago, and we were all in. We started off simple with a robo-advisor who started investing for us in a diversified portfolio. It was really easy, low maintenance, and stress-free. But after a while, we started to get a bit overconfident. We said, this robo-advisor just gives us the average returns of the market, but what if we try to outperform the market? And that's when we dove headfirst into into researching individual stocks. Imagine two people hunched over their laptops, spreadsheets open. We read articles, we watched videos of Warren Buffett. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and then nothing. We didn't invest in anything. We got so caught up in trying to find the perfect stock and the perfect investment and trying to time it perfectly that we did what most over-researchers do, which was we didn't invest in anything and we just completely stopped investing. And by the time we finally found the perfect stock, we'd either missed the best buying opportunity or we convinced ourselves that it wasn't worth buying yet. So we just kept on waiting on the sidelines. Meanwhile, that stock that we were looking at had doubled in value. So here's something that I've learned over the past 8 years with investing. The biggest investing mistake is not investing at all. In this book, I explain why it's so important to keep a simple strategy when it comes to investing and not to overcomplicate it. And I share a simple step-by-step guide on how to get started. Something else that really motivated me is that your first $100,000 is the hardest, and after you get to that milestone, it gets easier and easier to build wealth. So the next lesson is that taking mini retirements will change your life. So I know a couple who have actually reached financial independence in their 30s. They have over $1 million invested outside of their superannuation, which is a retirement fund in Australia. One day I caught up with them and I asked them how their early retirement was going, and they said something that really surprised me. They'd actually gone back to work part-time. At first, I was shocked, but then I thought about it and I spoke to them about it, and it started to make sense. As humans, we crave meaning in our life, and for a lot of that, meaningful work is actually a part of that. So I used to be really excited by the whole FIRE movement, which is financial independence, retire early, and I still am really excited by it, but I also have realized that it's not necessarily about never working again. It's about having the freedom to choose when you work and what you work on. And that's why I think that mini retirements are actually a solution to this, and they give you the best of both worlds. My dad actually retired early to take care of me as a single stay-at-home parent, and the family law courts actually required that he give up his job in order to take care of me and get full custody of me. But because he had passive income, investments, and a really frugal lifestyle, we were still able to live without him working. But growing up, even though he had so much freedom in his days and he could do whatever he wanted, I could still tell that he missed work. He was a civil engineer for Sydney Water, and he honestly still talks about that job and how much he loved it. So I feel like it would have been nice for him to still be able to work, even if it wasn't full-time, but maybe even part-time, so he could still get that meaning in his days and still, of course, raise his family, which is just me. So what if instead of working full-time until we're 65 and then retiring, we built in breaks to reset, travel, and rest? So in the book, I talk about building two different types of savings pools. The first is short to medium term savings or investments. And these are accessible investments or savings that you can use to fund mini retirement, sabbaticals, or extended travel. And the second pool is long-term savings. These are things like your superannuation and your retirement funds, things that you really won't touch for decades. Pablo and I actually took a 3-month mini retirement a few years ago, and we sold some of our investments in order to travel. We actually did a round the world trip and spent less than $1,000 per person on flights because we used our credit card points. And this 3-month trip honestly reset us completely, and we really enjoyed it. Another one of our friends works at a tech company, and he's able to travel and work around the world because his company has a work from anywhere policy. And now, since Pablo and I work full-time on this business, we also have a flexible lifestyle which allows us to travel and work at the same time. So there are definitely ways that you can build mini retirements into your lifestyle without affecting your long-term financial goals. So you can enjoy time off to reset, relax, and have fun, but not jeopardize your financial future at the same time. So the next lesson is balancing the 3 F's of budgeting. I think budgeting often gets a bad rap because a lot of people think it means cutting out your $5 coffees and basically saying no to everything that makes you happy. But budgeting isn't actually about saying no, it's about saying yes to the things that really matter in your life. In the book, I introduce the 3 F's, which are foundation, which are your essentials. These are the non-negotiables and the things that you really need to live. Things like housing, groceries, utilities, healthcare, and insurance. Next is fun, and these are the things that really make life worth living. Things that bring you joy, like dining out, beauty, entertainment, subscriptions, travel, and more. And finally, there's freedom. Things like investments, your superannuation or retirement savings, property, building your emergency funds, starting a business, etc. And here's the really important thing that I've learned. If you have foundation and fun but no freedom, you feel like you're comfortable now, but you're not really building for the future. And you might have a bit of anxiety because you know that you're not building for your future self. If you have foundation and freedom but no fun, you might feel like you're doing all the right things, getting ahead, but you might start to feel stressed and burnt out and like you're not really enjoying the money that you're making. And finally, if you have fun and freedom but no foundation, you might feel like your financial stability is at risk because you're not able to meet all of your basic necessities. So that's why it's really important to balance all 3 F's in your budget. And by the way, if you want help balancing the 3 F's of foundation, fun, and freedom, then you can check out Billaroo, which is my budgeting tool in my bio. It makes budgeting and managing your money easier and a lot more fun. And the last lesson is that you actually can buy happiness. Sort of. We've all heard the phrase that money can't buy happiness, and in some ways that's true. You can't purchase meaningful relationships or a lifetime of happy memories, but did you know that the way that you spend money can actually make you happier based on science? So there was a really interesting Harvard study that ran for over 85 years, and they found that the biggest factor in long-term happiness wasn't money, success, or fame, it was the quality of our relationships. And while money can't help you buy strong relationships, it can help you facilitate them by giving you more time, freedom, and also money to be able to invest in nice experiences with the people that you love. In the book, I also share another really interesting study. In the study, the researchers divided the participants into 2 groups of people. To one group, they actually gave these people some money and they told them to spend it on material possessions, things like fashion, tech, gadgets, those sorts of things. To the other group, they told this group to spend money on experiences, things like concerts, a little weekend getaway, etc. At first, both groups of people were equally happy, but months later, a clear winner emerged. The people that spent money on the experiences were actually happier. And the reason why is because although we love spending money on new things, we quickly adapt to material possessions. When you buy a new phone, you might get really excited at first, but over time, that excitement starts to fade. Whereas when you spend money on a really nice experience, you get excited when you are enjoying that experience, and even months and years later, even remembering that experience can also spark those happy memories again. And the funny thing is, even when you spend money on an experience that actually doesn't go to plan, you often sometimes remember those experiences even more fondly than the experiences that you spent money on that went perfectly to plan. And let me share an example to explain what I mean. A few years ago, Pablo and I really wanted to visit Uluru. It's basically this iconic landmark in the middle of Australia, and it just looks beautiful there, and we've always wanted to visit it. So we found some cheap flights and we got there. We booked the trip for the Christmas holidays, which basically means when you're in Australia, heat, lots of heat, and Uluru is in the middle of Australia, so it's really, really hot there. It's basically Mars. The earth is red, there are tiny shrubs, and it seriously looks like something out of another planet. But something that we didn't know when we were booking was that the weather actually turned on us that week, and instead of being really hot, it was actually really hot and really rainy. We actually booked a trip to Uluru during the wettest week in its recorded history. And even more unfortunate for us, since we were in our frugal era, we actually booked camping instead of a hotel or accommodation with actual walls and a ceiling. So we were basically in the campground with this tiny tent, which we bought on Marketplace for $80, and it was pretty depressing and a bit miserable, especially with all of this rain. Everyone around us actually completely moved out of the campground. We were the only ones left, and it was so wet, it was muddy. We would have to commute back and forth to the bathrooms and step over giant puddles. There were all these insects. It was really grim, but even though parts of it were a bit grim, it was also really beautiful. We had some really amazing experiences. We got to see Uluru, and it was really beautiful. And even looking back now, it's one of our fondest travel memories. And I think the reason why was because it actually didn't go to plan. Psychologists actually have a name for this, and that's the endowment progress effect. So our brains assign more meaning to shared experiences, even when they don't go perfectly. So that's why it's really important to spend your money intentionally. And that's not to say that it's not amazing to spend money on a nice handbag or a watch, especially for milestone purchases. It's just really important to spend money with intention and to spend money on things that make you feel good and things that make you feel happy. So if you've enjoyed this video and you want to go even deeper, then you can grab your copy of the Fun Finance Formula. It's available at all major booksellers. You can also buy it on Amazon, Booktopia, and I've even recorded an audiobook version which you can buy on Audible, so you can listen to the audiobook on the go. And if you want to start budgeting, you can check out Billaroo, my budgeting tool, in the description below. And write fun money in the comments so we know you watched this video all all the way through. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.